Hi, everyone. We're happy you can join us for Getting the Most Out of Command Center. I'm Sherilyn Hill. I'm part of the marketing team here at Untangle, as many of you who've joined us before would know. Today, we have Graham Ravenscroft, technical marketing engineer, leading our talk. And he'll dive into everything Command Center, including the demo, in just a minute. But of course, we have the usual housekeeping items. First, um, to get the best view, choose the highest resolution screen resolution via the gear icon. And the slide shows where you can find that and choose the best resolution for you. Second, if you have any questions, please remember to include them in the chat box. We do really try to make an effort to answer all of them during the webinar. Sometimes we can't, but if your question isn't answered, a member of our team will definitely follow up with you directly. And lastly, if you need to leave the webinar or just want to review something later, they are all available on demand, so you can watch those at your convenience. And we are also now putting those up on YouTube, so you can find those on our YouTube channel. And now, over to Graham.
Howdy, everybody, and welcome. Thanks for giving us your time today and letting us show you around the product a little bit. So first, I thought we would take a second to kind of go over our agenda, talk about the things that I want to show off today. And those are going to be our alert notifications, our policies, which you can use to keep your devices in sync, zero-touch provisioning, which is going to be great for those of you who might be resellers, how to secure your account from unauthorized access, how to manage and delegate through Command Center users, and we'll kind of touch on some things that you may not be aware of that's in Command Center as well. And then finally, we'll do a demonstration. I'll show off everything that we talked about. So first, this is our Untangle Network Security Framework, which gives you kind of a visualization of what your network fleet might look like when using Untangle products. So you've got Command Center there in the center, which gives you that centralized management and visibility platform over all of your NG firewall and micro edge deployments. Our first Command Center feature is going to be alert notifications, and these will enable you to receive notifications for a number of events, both concerning your Command Center account as well as any appliances associated with it. So you can get alerts to be notified of user logins or any changes that are made to your account, your Command Center account itself, any purchases or changes to subscriptions that might be made through that account, whether an appliance has gone offline, online, whether remote access to any of your appliances has been initiated through Command Center, and a number of other things. These are just kind of some suggestions and some of the defaults that you might see. And by default, these alerts are going to be sent to the admin email address that's associated with the Command Center account. Now, using notification profiles, you can change the way that you receive those alerts. So normally, like I said, you get them via email. Using notification profiles, you can send them to your Untangle Go mobile application, a customized webhook, Slack Messenger, PagerDuty, or VictorOps network monitoring. And we also have the Alerts Received feature, which displays alert emails that are sent from any of your NGFW, your NG firewall appliances, directly to your Command Center account. So this allows you to create alerts that you can send from Command Center that are sort of piggybacked from the Untangles themselves, the NGFWs themselves. And it also allows you to configure the way that you receive those alerts. So you're not just getting them via email, you can get them via the notification profiles. So Untangle Go, Slack, so on and so forth. Our next cool feature is going to be Command Center policies. So this is a way to keep your devices in sync. They allow you to create groups of NG firewall appliances consisting of a single master appliance and one or more targeted appliances. And these policies are used to keep the configuration of the target appliances synced with the master, either automatically or on demand. you can create a policy to synchronize the entire configuration of the NG firewall, so all of your settings, network settings, and all your application policy or all your application settings. Or if you choose, you can sync just your application configurations. As you can imagine, there are a number of uses for your policies, but these are some of the more common scenarios that you'll see. Remote branch configurations or offices that'll use the same configuration. So if you've got a headquarters, for example, and a number of branch locations, and you just want to have the same settings for example, web filter or application control used at all your locations, you can set those up on the master appliance, which would be your headquarters, automatically sync that configuration out to all of your remote locations, all of your branches, and then you only have to set up once. You don't have to go through and configure each individual remote NGFW. If you're a reseller and Untangle partner, you can use on-demand syncing to deploy policies to your units before they're sent to your customers. This doesn't even require the appliance to be online. You can actually push that policy, and as soon as the device is received wherever it's going, it'll automatically pull that policy and pull those application configurations. And again, this saves you having to individually touch every NG firewall appliance that you're using. And it's also useful for VRRP to keep your secondary devices settings matched to the primary. This is especially important if you have secondary subscriptions that are associated with those backup devices so that everything switches over as seamlessly as possible. Another neat feature is going to be our zero-touch provisioning. So this allows you to add a device to your Command Center account to push policies and subscriptions to it without it being online. So this is going to be mostly useful for folks who are resellers, people who are deploying NG firewall units to somewhere else. So all you need to do is just add the appliance's serial number to your Command Center account in your appliances page. And that will take you to a setup page that allows you to assign any subscriptions that are free floating in your account, as well as to determine which policies or software configurations are going to be pushed to it. And then with one click, you're done. You're all set. All you need to do is set the device wherever it's going to go. Once it's powered on and connected to the internet, it will automatically grab those policies and those subscription information, and you're good to go. Another important facet is going to be keeping your account secure. As everybody knows, as we are constantly seeing in the world of IT, there are security breaches, hacks, all sorts of things happen, right? So we want to make it as easy as possible and as convenient as possible for you to be able to secure your Command Center account to keep the unauthorized folks from getting into it. The first feature, as everyone is familiar with, is going to be a two-factor authentication. You can require a user to enter a verification code that gets sent to the email address that's associated with that account in order to log into that account. If you use a single sign-on feature through a Google or a Microsoft account, you can also link your Command Center account with that single sign-on and then require the use of that SSO in order to log into your account. So if someone wants to get into your account, they have to be able to sign into your Google or your Microsoft account, whichever is associated with the Command Center account, in order to do that. Another feature that can give you a great deal of control or delegate, I should say, is going to be using users to delegate access and control of your appliances and your subscriptions to other folks, other employees within your company, people who may be assigned to work, to manage those devices on your behalf. And it is optional for a user to have their own Command Center account. Um, you can associate a login to your account to someone who doesn't actually have a Command Center account. You can also, if they have a Command Center account, just link the two together. So whatever is the most convenient for you in that instance. The two major powers that you can grant to users associated with your account are going to be the remote access feature, which allows them to access remotely any appliances that are associated with your account, and billing. billing access, allowing them to view or modify at your option. Billing information, subscriptions, the assignment of subscriptions, they can purchase subscriptions associated, and so on and so forth. Just a quick pause here. We have a question that Microsoft SSO is not working at the time, and what the status of that is. As far as I am aware, at this moment, it has not been resolved. There is an issue with the way Command Center is communicating with Microsoft. There was a change, I'm given to understand, on Microsoft's end that changed the requirement for SSO, or some of the requirements for SSO, and we're working to get that sorted out. If you will provide contact information, we can reach out to you afterwards and give you more specific details if you like. But as of the moment, Microsoft SSO is not functional through Command Center. We are working on it, and I believe that our engineers are actually kind of hammering away at it as we speak. And then just a couple of other things you might not have known about Command Center, features that we have built in that you may not be aware of. They're a little bit more advanced. The first one is going to be centrally managed VPN. This is going to allow you to create a mesh network among any or all of your appliances entirely through Command Center. You don't need to connect to the individual appliances or do anything with them. The VPN setup is pushed automatically from Command Center to any of these devices. The tunnels are brought up automatically, and you should be good to go. It is important to note that this currently features, this is currently possible through WireGuard only, so it does not support OpenVPN or IPsec VPN connections. And the corollary to that is, of course, WireGuard does require that you're using a subscription, which includes the WireGuard feature. So that's going to be NGFW Complete, Home Protect Plus, and the Security Edition from MicroEdge. Another interesting feature is going to be our hosts viewer and anti-malware integrations. So you can integrate with existing enterprise-level Malwarebytes, Webroot, or Bitdefender accounts to give you more detailed information about hosts that are associated with your network. And one of the cool things is you can even initiate your anti-malware scans right from Command Center. So you can just log into your account and set that device to scan without having to connect to the device, without having to connect to the user and instruct them to do it, and saves you a little bit of time.
Graham, real quick, while we're just still on WireGuard, is there any question came in, is there any way to manage WireGuard user configuration centrally?
Not in this instance. So this is going to connect, these are site-to-site tunnels. These are going to connect individual networks associated with NGA firewall or MicroEdge appliances. You won't actually be able to do any remote user roaming configurations through Command Center.
And one more with regards to WireGuard. Are there any plans to add MFA to WireGuard client VPN?
That is a complicated question. We are doing our best. The difficulty is that WireGuard by itself is sort of pseudo-stateless. There isn't really an enabled or a disabled. It's either on and thus connected or trying to connect, or it's off. And because the WireGuard protocol itself does not include any kind of a challenge to a user in order to request username authentication, we're kind of having to build around that. So we are examining options to do so. It is a highly, highly requested feature, so it's definitely something. There is a fire burning under our engineering team to get that sorted out as soon as possible. So the short answer is we are doing our best. We're working on it.
Great, thanks.
Absolutely. And another feature that's not mentioned in these particular slides that has just occurred to me is we actually have reporting built into Command Center as well. We'll show this in the demo. That gives you kind of aggregate information over your whole network. It does not have quite the detail that you would see in the individual reports for an NG firewall or a MicroEdge appliance, but it gives you kind of a look at your overall network as a whole. So that brings us over to our live demo. And before we get into that, I want to just pause for a second. If there's any other questions that we can address before we get into kind of showing off where this stuff is and how it works, I'm happy to address those now.
I just wanted to make one point real quick.
Yes, please.
If for people that haven't seen our announcement, that Micro Edge is the new name for what was formerly SD-WAN router. So the product is still the same. It's just moving forward and positioning it for the future. We decided that Micro Edge was a better name that fit where edge devices are going in the future. So if you're wondering why we're using Micro Edge and what happened to SD-WAN, that is the difference.
Thank you very much for clarifying that. I'm so used to referring to it as Micro Edge internally that it hadn't occurred to me that there may be some people who weren't aware. So now you are. And it doesn't appear we have any immediate questions. So without those, I will jump right into the demo. Give me just a second to present my screen here. All right, so you can see here our Command Center account. So the first thing we discussed is going to be alerts and notifications. So we'll head over there and take a look at that first. By default, you're going to see a number of these alert rules that are created automatically. These are just things that we think might be useful for you to know, and things that just kind of come with the package. These alerts are going to be sent directly from Command Center. So if they are referring to a particular box, it doesn't have to be online. You can get those alerts just through Command Center itself. And that brings us over to the notification profiles. So again, this is how you can change your delivery method so that you can get your alerts via something other than email. So if we decide that we want to be able to get certain alerts through our Untangle Go application, for example, we can just create this profile. The action here to Untangle Go. And this mobile configuration, this will show us all of the instances of Untangle Go that are currently connected with this Command Center account. So we can send it to this iPad. And we will just click Create there. You'll see that pop-up notification. It does take a little while to become available. But once it does become available, you'll see it here in the list. So there it is. And then we can edit this notification profile if we need to make any changes to it, if we want to add other devices or remove devices, et cetera, et cetera. And then when we receive alerts, if we're adding an alert rule, we will have the notification profile for Untangle Go. So if there is a particular notification that we want to get through Untangle Go, we can do that through that notification profile. And then the other neat thing is going to be the Alerts Received tab. So these are alerts. Wow, we've got to up the memory on that. These are alerts that are received to the Command Center account from NG Firewall appliances that are associated to the account. So in this case, we can see we've got a Z4 demo unit that has some issues with swap. We're asking a little much of that device, but you can use this rule. You can use this screen, excuse me, to automatically create alerts that'll be sent through your notification profile. So if we want to know, for example, that our swap usage is high, we can just click View Details. This will tell us everything about the alert itself. It has some kind of more detailed information. And then there's the Add Alert Rule button, which allows us to create a new alert rule. It automatically fills in the rule information. So this is going to be the criterion that triggers this alert, whether it's on or it's off. And we can set it to, for example, Untangle Go. And then just create that alert. And then we'll see that exists here. And now, whenever Command Center receives a particular alert that contains that message, swap usage is high. In this case, we didn't edit the rule, so it's going to be specifically anytime it occurs 33 times. To be slightly less specific about that. Now, we'll change that so that it alerts anytime we get that swap message, that swap usage is high alert. And we're using that notification profile, Untangle Go. So again, if we edit that, we can see that that's going to go to that Untangle Go notifications. which we know is going to send to that specific iPad, I believe it was. Yep, is that iPad device. So this is a slightly convoluted way to say that you can change the delivery method from emails to use other methods. And the next big thing is going to be our policies. So policies come in, broadly speaking, two different kinds. There are going to be these template configurations, which is Untangle Command Center speak for the whole device. This is going to be all of your network settings and all of your application settings. And this is going to be useful for VRP configurations. And anytime the target device needs to have exactly the same configuration as the primary device. And so that's going to be great for things like backups. If you've got a hot spare device that you've got just sitting on a shelf that you need to swap in, you can keep those configurations synced this way, and that will copy the entire configuration of the master device. And then you can sync your alerts from the devices from AWS or from the master to these to the target devices, as well as individual applications. So if you just want to send settings from the firewall application or from web filter, you can just select your target. Let's use this appliance policy here. And we can see that the names are not especially descriptive. We should have done a better job of, or I should have done a better job of setting those up so that they're kind of show you what they do. But this is going to have that description, tells you what the master appliance is. So that's going to come from our Z20 demo unit and use the default policy. And then each of these can be configured individually. So like I said, you can send just the application policies that you want to send, or in the event that you need to match the destination devices or the target devices to that primary, you can use that template configuration. And in order to demonstrate our zero touch setup, I'm actually going to remove this device from our demo account. And then we will add it back in, and you can see the entire process. So we'll just click Add Appliance here. I'm going to set serial number. And this will be our setup page. So we can enter in the admin password for the device. So this is however you would log in normally. Set up your install type, which is going to be kind of the theme of the place. Because we're just doing a demo here, I'm going to just set this to other. Make sure that your time zone is correct. In this case, it is defaulting to somewhere that is not. So I will just set this to our West Coast, our California office. You can assign a label to it. So we're going to call this is our E6WL demo appliance. If you want to change the host name, you can do so here, as well as the domain that it belongs to. The appliance location, in this case, is incorrect. We're going to change this to our San Jose office. And then we can apply any subscriptions that are associated with it. So there's the subscription there. Agree to the EULA. And then add it right in. And as soon as this completes, we'll get a little pop-up that tells us so. And you actually will automatically receive. It typically will automatically pop open a remote access window so that it'll actually connect you directly to that device. And then let's see. Any questions that I might have? I have too many windows open. Any questions that I might have missed?
There's one. What's the timetable administrator full access user to use mobile app?
I am afraid I'm not entirely certain I understand the question. I'm going to try and address the question that I think is being asked. As of the moment, the Untangle Go application is somewhat lightweight. Largely what it allows you to do is just view your appliances and view your subscriptions. We are working on expanding that functionality quite a bit. We are planning for an updated release a little bit later on this year that's going to pretty significantly expand the functionality of that Untangle Go application. I don't have a specific date for it, but it is definitely planned. If I were forced to, I would expect sometime in the first half of the year, probably in the second quarter. But like I said, we are planning on bringing functionality to Untangle Go that brings it a little bit closer in line with what you can do with the full actual command center. Hopefully that addresses your question. If not, please feel free to ask again, and I will jump right back on there.
Another question, how did you get the license available for the demo unit?
That is a license that's just associated with the account. So because this is our demo unit, this is what we use it for, these webinars and individual product demos and things like that. So we just have some kind of free-floating licenses that are associated with that account, just so we can assign subscriptions and so that they'll be fully provisioned with all the features of the device.
Okay. And another question just came in. If you have a spare backup appliance, what's the best practice to get it to sync to your main appliance? Should it be online and syncing via a template?
That will ultimately depend on how quickly you need that device online, essentially. If it's just a cold spare, if it's just sitting on the shelf just in case, I would just maintain the syncs. There is an option if we go to policies, and then if we actually we edit the template, there is an option for keep in sync. So that will automatically push whenever a change is made to the primary appliance, it automatically pushes whatever that changes automatically pushes that down to any target appliances. So as soon as the target appliance comes online, once it's connected to the internet, it will automatically connect to Command Center and grab any configuration. So like I said, it comes down to speed, right? If it's a VRRP thing, if you need this to be essentially immediately in place, then I would say, because it's got a functional internet connection, because it can connect to Command Center, it'll grab those policies and you'll be able to switch over mostly seamlessly. If it is sort of a cold spare, and like I said, just kind of in a box somewhere, sitting on a shelf, and you'll just swap it out if the first one dies, then in that case, it'll grab them as quickly as it can as soon as it connects to Command Center. So there's not a ton of difference between the two sort of deployment methods.
Okay. And then if the device is offline when added, can you set up a policy for apps once it comes online?
Yes, absolutely. So this is part of the zero-touch provisioning, and the premise is essentially you can configure whatever you need so that it is available as soon as the device gets online. So as I mentioned in the previous question, once you put that target device online, it will automatically connect to Command Center, and it automatically requests any license information, any subscription information, and any policies that have been set up to sync applications to it. So once that device is out of the box, you plug a cable into it and it can get to the internet. The first thing it does is call home and get those two pieces of information. So that's the point, essentially. That's the premise behind it, is that we want you to be able to do that, to configure this policy and configure the subscription and everything, so that you don't have to touch the box once it's put in place. You can send it to a client. You can set up a home device to send home to your parents or whomever it might be. Configure it all beforehand, and then all they have to do is take it out of the box, plug in a couple of cables, and go.
Okay. That seems to be it for now.
All right. So let me get back over here. So for the securing your account portion, we would go over here, and you can actually see that I am a user to the account that I'm logged into. So it shows that I am logged in as myself. And there's the account that I am logged in with, is my gravenscroft@untangle.com account. And I am managing this Untangled Demo 10 account, which is the account that we're looking at right now. And you can see that I am listed as an admin, that I have full access. So effectively, when I am logged into this account, I treat it as though it were my own. So I can change just about anything about it. The only things that I cannot change on the master account are going to be email address information, and I cannot change the password on that master account. So then if we head over to the My Account area, we will see that I cannot modify users. So let me switch back to my own. Bear with me just a moment here. So here you can see this is what it looks like when you have two-factor authentication enabled. And as I switch back to my own account, head on over to that account area, and you can see here under users, this is where I can add and modify my users. So I will add myself. And the first option is going to be the subscriptions, billing, invoices. This is the person that I am inviting. Can they do anything with my billing information? Can they do anything with subscriptions? Can they assign them or unassign them? Can they change billing information? Can they make purchases and view invoices? And that gives you'll have two options there. Well, three. One is nothing. Gives them no access to that area of the account at all. One will be read-only, which allows them to view but not change any of the subscriptions, billing, etc. details. Or full access, which allows them to access those things as though they were your account. So if I give this, so we'll give this this new user account full access, and this will allow that user account to access my own billing information, play with my subscriptions, etc. And then the other setting is going to be this permitted appliances area. So all current and future appliances, gives them access to every box on my account. If I want, I can disable that, and I can pick specific accounts. Now, obviously, there's only the single appliance associated with this account. But if I had more, I could pick and choose the ones that are made available to that user. And then we'll just send that invitation. And then it causes the user to show up here in our users list. And we can see the email address, the user's name. I don't know why I filled it out like that, but there we have it. A list of their permitted appliances. So in this case, it's going to be all of them, but this is going to be just the single one. So there's that. It shows us the last time that they logged into that account and their status. This is automatically showing us active because I've actually created this account before. If there were no user objects associated with this email address, this G Ravenscroft plus TME account, this would show as invited. And then that person, in this case me, would have to log into that email address, click on a link that would connect them to Command Center and establish that email address can be used to log into Command Center as a user to the primary account. And then this status would change from invited to active. And so users are going to be great, obviously, for anyone who manages an account and has individual agents. So, you're a manager, you're someone who runs an organization or who is the head of a department or whatever, and you need to delegate access to certain employees that work under you, people that are, within the department who maybe need specialized access. So you could have an accounting person who can only get to billing information. So in that case, we could do something like this and give this account full access to billing and subscriptions so that they can do accounting things with them. Obviously, I do not work in accounting, so I have to say accounting things. And then this user would be able to only view those money related things, kind of handle the money side of things. Or alternately, I can turn off billing and access altogether and only give them access to the specific appliances. Again, either all of them or specific ones that I choose. And this is going to be good for your IT folks. Anyone who needs to be able to connect to your appliances and manage the appliances themselves, but doesn't really need access to any of the billing and subscription side of things. And then we mentioned our centrally managed VPN, so I thought I would demonstrate that for you here and just kind of show you what that looks like. So we'll go over to networks up at the top, click create network. And actually, bear with me, I'm going to switch to my other organization so that I have more devices to work with. All right, there we are, much better. Those of you who have been following these webinars for some time or have been with Untangle for a while will realize probably that this is the first time that I'm presenting one of these webinars, so I appreciate everyone's patience while I kind of work out some of the kinks.
Doing great.
Thank you, very kind. So we will create a network. We've got an existing one here. This is just sort of a generic one that's associated with these specific appliances that we've created for demo purposes. So we'll just create one here and we'll call it Webinar Demo Network, because I am, if nothing else, a very creative individual. And so we will want to select the appliances that are associated or that we want to connect through this network. So let's connect our demo E6, which is our micro edge appliance, and this AWS hosted NG firewall. And we'll just click create. And then this will create an entry here in our networks list for this webinar demo network. So we'll click on that. And here we see there's the network map that shows us where these appliances are located. One of them is apparently in Ohio. And then a list of the specific appliances. Overall network performance. This is aggregate between the two devices. So this is not either one or both. It's, this is not either of the appliances. This is the entire network as a whole. And then we've got this software-defined networks pane. And naturally, I have chosen one that is offline, and I cannot send configuration data to it. All right, well, let's pretend for a moment that I had set up this functional network over here. So this is going to be this Acme Auto Parts. This is our demo network that we use for these sorts of things. And then we'll have here this software-defined networks. And again, this is going to show us the devices that are associated with this network that can be connected through this centrally managed VPN. So we can just click on this Z4 demo appliance, and we're going to click configuration. Well, I am batting 1,000 here. So this is an error message that you will see, unintentionally appropriate. This is an error message that you will see if the device has either IPsec or OpenVPN enabled, because we don't want to have tunnel overlaps. We're not going to be able to use the centrally managed VPN for this specific device without disabling one or both of those applications. So let's try this other example one. Okay, here's what it's supposed to look like. Again, thank you all very much for your patience. So we will click enable. And this will show us the endpoint address for this specific device that we've selected. And we can select the subnets that are behind this appliance that need to be accessible to everything else in the mesh. So let's just set both of them. And we'll click save. And then we see that status is enabled. And if I had thought this far enough through, I would actually connect to this device and show you that these are available in WireGuard. Okay, well, there have been better demonstrations than that, I will admit. And as I glance back at my notes, I see that we have a number of questions here. So let me pause for a moment and try and address some of these. First one I have here is, any plans to add an AD directory connector for IPsec VPN? Any plans to add Azure ADDSD directory connector to IPsec? That is a good question, and it is unfortunately not one that I can address right now. I will make a note of that, and we can follow up. Yeah, I genuinely don't know the answer to that, unfortunately. I believe that we are working to expand those directory connector, the Active Directory options available over VPNs. I don't know if it's necessarily something that's going to be coming up in the immediate future. And then what appears to be a related question, a follow-on question, plans to create a directory connector to Azure AD so that users can authenticate to VPNs via this method instead of a local AD. Again, this speaks to WireGuard itself. At the moment, the only authentication that we can use for IPsec is going to be the Untangle itself, or our local directory feature, which is kind of like a built-in list of user credentials. And the same is actually going to be true for OpenVPN. I do not know that we have plans to extend that user authentication to Azure AD over. Well, I'm not answering that question very well. Our directory connector application can connect to Azure AD, so it can be used as an authentication database. The issue comes back to which VPN are you using. Again, if you're using WireGuard, there's no method built into the protocol itself that actually allows you to challenge a user across that VPN. So that's one of the things that we're working on in order to, to kind of expand that VPN feature a little bit. That is one. That is another one that I'm going to have to put on my list of things to follow up on because I would like to give you a better answer than the one that I have given you right now. I know that this is not the most conclusive response, and I apologize for that.
Yeah, and sometimes there are things a little bit out of our scope, but we can definitely follow up with those.
Absolutely. And yes, please, as we've said, if you have any questions, please let us know. It doesn't necessarily have to pertain directly to the scope of this. We're happy to answer whatever questions we get. But things that are a little bit out of scope, we might take offline and just kind of reach out to you individually. So let's see, what else have we here? If you change your email, will you get your permission removed? That is an interesting question, and it is not something that I have come across in the past. The login to Command Center, if you have a Command Center account and you are set as a user to someone else's account, the login is associated with the email address that is provided at the time that you create the account. So in that case, you would no longer, if your email address changed, for example, if you changed your name, or happen to change email provider, something like that, you would still need to use the credentials associated with that login at the time that it was created. You should be able to change that if you had a Command Center account, you could just change the email address associated with it and do an end run around the whole thing. If you are created as a user without a Command Center login, I think that you would have to be re-invited using the new email address. But that I will get confirmation on that and reach out and we'll just follow up on that one because that actually is a really interesting question. Next question is, where do you find the UID without logging into the appliance? You don't, actually. A UID, the unique ID, is essentially a serial number associated with the software installation itself. It's not going to be on the packaging. It's not going to be on the device. It is only available within the UI or the command line of the software itself. If you're trying to add an appliance to your account, you can use the serial number, which is going to be on the box itself. There should be a silver or white sticker. It's going to be on the bottom. And typically it'll have either just a string of digits or a barcode and a string of digits, probably has the Untangle logo. And you will be able to use that to add an appliance to your account as well. And it looks like I might be answering these out of order, so I apologize. Let me try the oldest one first. Access to firewalls through Command Center is very slow. It takes over 1 minute before you can work on the firewall. My first recommendation actually would be to contact our support team. If you have a live support subscription, you can do so via support@untangle.com. You can call into their number and get someone to take a look at that. That's unusual, and I would probably not. I don't think that that's necessarily systemic or anything that is just sort of affects everyone. I am working remotely. I'm about 1,000 miles away from our corporate office where these servers are located, and I have no issues using it. Obviously, it works for me doesn't mean anything in your case or in anyone else's case. But that is not something that I have seen. So I would be inclined to point you towards the support team and let them kind of try and help you through that. See if there's anything else that they can help sort out for you, because it definitely shouldn't be quite that sluggish for sure. And then one more question here. A little out of scope is fine. We're happy with that. Doesn't pull in host names of devices that are connected unless it's acting as a DHCP server. Host names are somewhat contentious, and the reason for this is there is an order of precedence that goes the device itself, then a standalone DHCP server, then the Untangle's built-in name map, which is essentially a static listing of host names that you can configure within the Untangle itself. Now, because we take the device's host name as gospel the first time we see it, we don't query or otherwise update host name information at all. So the only way to change a host name is either going to be to make an entry in the name map, which again is effectively overwritten in reverse order of precedence by a DHCP server or by the device's own host name, or to drop the contents of your host table. So the answer to your question is that we do not currently have any plans to actively query for host name changes. That is something that I would point you to our sort of virtual suggestion box, which will be located at feedback.untangle.com. And I would have you suggest a feature request to either have, more frequent updating of host names or active scanning of host names, something like that. Because again, the root of the problem is simply that we get the device's host name once when it first connects to the network, and then we assume that that's just what the host name will be, essentially in perpetuity. So
And
hopefully
they do look at that feedback, and it is very important. So that is a good avenue.
we do. Yeah, I probably should specify. I'm sure that there are companies out there who do that, in order to sort of placate their user bases a little bit. We really do, in the product team, pay a great deal of attention to it. I am one of the moderators on that feedback site, and our engineering team are very tired, I will tell you, of me saying, hey, someone on the feedback site says we should do this. Can we do it? Let's do it, so on and so forth. So we actually do take that pretty seriously, and that is a primary avenue for you as the user base to communicate with us and tell us, what you need from this thing. Tell us, what features and what abilities do you want your network hardware or your network software to have that it doesn't currently? All right, and then the only other thing that I wanted to kind of touch on very briefly in our demo are sort of quick tools here. There's the tools option, which allows you to enter an IP address, a MAC address, a URL, or a file MD5 hash and get some information. So this is going to combine things like a whois, so we can look at, for example, untangle.com, and we can get whois style resolution about that particular website. We could use, I don't have any devices connected behind this to get MAC addresses, but we can use this to look up all sorts of website information. And you can also use this to get information about devices that are downstream within your network. So if we had, again, I apologize, I actually don't have any devices connected through this command center or any endpoint desktop type devices connected that I could kind of point to. But this tool could be pretty valuable just to get some more detailed information about, again, a website, a device in your network, something that you're looking at. And we have our reports. One of the most important things to note about reports through Command Center is that these are aggregate over your entire network. These are not specific to a particular device. So for example, we've got this bandwidth control report. This is reported from every appliance in the network that uses bandwidth control. So it's conglomerated from all of those together. And it kind of gives me an overall bird's eye view of the network fleet as a whole, as well as there's a hosts viewer that gives us some more information about all the hosts in the network, the overall network, where we can see bandwidth usage and also intrusions detected. This is going to be reported by our intrusion prevention application. Obviously, in this case, intrusion prevention is at its most effective when it is at the edge of the network, and all of these demo devices live downstream of another Untangle. So there's no data to be shown there. And then, of course, just this web filter information as it's reported by our downstream devices. And so that brings us to the end of our technical demonstration, which brings us around to Q&A. Kind of handled a lot of that already. If anyone has any questions that were not addressed, anything that you need clarity on, we've got a few minutes remaining in our time. So please feel free to ask those questions now. I'll be happy to get to them. But if no one else has anything else, then that will bring us to the end of the technical portion. And I will hand the reins back over to Sherilyn for closing remarks.
All right. Thank you, Graham. That was great. Thanks for the presentation. Just a few things. You can create a Command Center account free at untangle.com. The knowledge base, that can be found at support.untangle.com. The Command Center overview is untangle.com/command-center. Graham, the feedback is feedback.
Feedback.untangle.com.
A great avenue. And then if you need to contact us, sales@untangle.com, info@untangle.com. And there's also the contact page, untangle.com. Contact us. And if you do need to contact support, which we did recommend for one person, that is support@untangle.com. So we do keep our contact information fairly simple for you. And with that, I just want to say thank you, everyone, for joining us. We hope you found this very useful. Again, you can always use the other avenues to contact us if you have further questions. Graham, thank you for presenting today. It's nice to get started on the webinars with you taking the reins, and I hope everyone has a great day. Take care, everyone.